Across history, remote islands have served as the backdrop for some of humanity's strangest and most haunting stories. From stranded castaways to those who chose exile, these isolated outposts have witnessed remarkable sagas of survival, loss, and mystery. Fictional tales like Robinson Crusoe may spark the imagination, but the real events that unfolded on deserted islands are often just as captivating, sometimes even more unsettling. These forgotten landscapes conceal secrets that reveal not only the resilience of the human spirit, but also the darker consequences of isolation. The Isle of Demons. In the icy waters off Newfoundland lies the fabled Isle of Demons, the stage for one of history's most chilling tales of survival. In 1542, French noblewoman Marguerite de la Roque was cast ashore here after being discovered in an affair during a sea voyage. The punishment came from none other than her own relative, the ship's captain. Talk about family loyalty. With only her lover and a servant, Marguerite built a crude shelter and fought against the relentless cold, hunger, and prowling animals. Her ordeal grew even harsher when she gave birth during exile, only to lose her newborn, her lover, and her servant within 16 months. Alone, she endured 2 desperate years, surviving on whatever she could hunt, until fishermen finally rescued her in 1544. The island's name came from local indigenous people who believed it was haunted by evil spirits. After everything Marguerite endured there, it's hard to imagine she didn't start believing that too. Maza Tierra, Robinson Crusoe Island. Most people know this Chilean island as the real-life home of Alexander Selkirk, the man who inspired Robinson Crusoe. But the strange circumstances behind his abandonment aren't nearly as famous. In 1704, after a heated argument with his captain over the ship's condition, Selkirk basically demanded to be left on the island, convinced the vessel would sink and another ship would come by soon. Bad call. No rescue came. And over the next 4 years, Selkirk's mind began to unravel. He ended up dancing with goats and cats just to stay sane. He built huts from pimento trees, hunted wild goats, and even trained cats to protect him from rats that would literally chew on his feet while he slept. When an English privateer finally found him in 1709, Selkirk was almost unrecognizable. He struggled to speak, and the crew said he moved more like an animal than a man. A true castaway, transformed by isolation. Roatan Island. This Honduran island became the unlikely refuge of Philip Ashton, a Massachusetts fisherman caught up in one of history's wildest survival sagas. In 1722, he was captured by the infamous pirate Edward Lowe and endured 9 brutal months of captivity before seizing a chance to escape onto uninhabited Roatan. For 16 long months, Ashton survived on little more than fruit and raw turtle eggs, completely alone. His solitude was briefly interrupted when another English castaway appeared, handing him a knife, a gun, and some powder, only to disappear mysteriously just days later. Was he real, or just a ghostly figure born of Ashton's desperation? His ordeal was far from over. He battled sickness, venomous snakes, and even attacks from Spanish forces. By the time a British ship rescued him in 1724, his tale sounded so unbelievable that many refused to accept it, despite his meticulous account. Even now, Roatan carries whispers of its pirate past, rumors of buried treasure, and the restless ghosts of those who died searching for it. Elephant Island. Few places on Earth capture the raw endurance of the human spirit like Antarctica's Elephant Island. In 1914, Ernest Shackleton's Imperial Trans-Antarctic expedition met disaster when their ship, the Endurance, was trapped and slowly crushed by sea ice. For nearly a year, the 28-man crew drifted helplessly on ice floes before finally reaching the barren, glacier-covered rock of Elephant Island in April 1916. For the first time in 497 days, their feet touched solid ground. But Elephant Island was no safe haven. Its jagged cliffs, brutal winds, and constant blizzards made it virtually uninhabitable. Shackleton knew they couldn't survive there forever. So, in a desperate gamble, he and 5 men set out across 800 miles of the world's stormiest seas in a 22-foot lifeboat, the James Caird, heading for South Georgia Island to find rescue. The 22 men left behind faced 4 more relentless months of isolation. They overturned lifeboats to use as makeshift shelters, and lived on a diet of penguin meat, seal blubber, and even seaweed. To fight off madness, they clung to routines, holding roll calls, telling stories, and even grooming each other to pick off the lice infesting their clothes. Temperatures often plunged below -20 degrees Fahrenheit. Frostbite gnawed at their limbs, hunger hollowed them out, and storms battered their fragile shelters. Yet somehow, not a single man died. Against all odds, every one of Shackleton's crew survived. In August 1916, Shackleton returned aboard a rescue ship, staring through his binoculars with dread, only to count each of his men alive and waiting. That moment has since become legendary, a story of survival almost too miraculous to believe. Today, Elephant Island remains virtually uninhabited. Its vicious winds, icy cliffs, and merciless seas deter all but the most hardened explorers. A frozen monument to the endurance of Shackleton's crew, and a reminder of just how far human willpower can be pushed. Palmyra Atoll. About 1,000 miles south of Hawaii lies Palmyra Atoll, a place so beautiful it looks like paradise, and yet it has earned a chilling reputation as one of the world's most cursed islands. Technically uninhabited except for a handful of researchers, this remote Pacific speck has racked up an unsettling history of strange deaths, eerie disappearances, and events that defy explanation. During World War II, the US Navy transformed the atoll into a military outpost, carving runways and dredging lagoons. Soldiers stationed here later reported unusually high rates of suicide and mental breakdowns, claiming the island had an oppressive, almost suffocating energy. Some even swore compasses spun wildly and electrical equipment failed without cause. Its darkest chapter came in 1974 with the infamous Sea Wind murders. Two wealthy yachtsmen, Malcolm and Eleanor Graham, sailed into Palmyra only to vanish without a trace. Months later, another couple who had been on the atoll, Buck Walker and Stephanie Stearns, were caught sailing the Graham's yacht, repainted and renamed. Years later, Eleanor's charred remains were discovered sealed inside a metal container. Malcolm's body was never found. Walker was eventually convicted of murder, while Stearns was acquitted, leaving the case shrouded in mystery. To this day, no one knows exactly what happened in those final hours. But the strangeness doesn't stop there. Sailors have long reported ghostly presences, bizarre electromagnetic disturbances, and an unshakable feeling of being watched. In 1987, the remains of a missing yachtsman named Edward Manning were found on the atoll. Just 2 years later, another family, with the uncanny surname Graham, vanished after passing through Palmyra, their boat never seen again. Coincidence? Or something darker? Even wealthy investors have tried and failed to tame Palmyra, sinking millions into development plans only to abandon them without explanation. Despite its postcard-perfect lagoons and palm forests, the atoll resists settlement as though it doesn't want people staying too long. Beautiful, cursed, and endlessly mysterious, Palmyra Atoll remains a paradise that hides something far more sinister beneath its waves. Flannan Isles. Off the windswept coast of Scotland lies the remote Flannan Isles, home to one of the most chilling maritime mysteries of the 20th century. In December 1900, the relief vessel Hesperus arrived at Island Moor to find the lighthouse eerily deserted. All three keepers, Thomas Marshall, James Duckett, and Donald MacArthur, had vanished without a trace. The scene inside was unsettling. Half-eaten meals sat untouched on the table, an overturned chair suggested someone had left in a hurry, and the clock on the wall had stopped dead. Their logbooks recorded days of violent storms, yet the final entry read calmly, "Storm ended. Sea calm. God is over all." That was the last anyone ever heard from them. Investigators suggested the men might have been swept into the sea while securing equipment down on the landing. But the lighthouse stood high above the cliffs, and reaching the waves required climbing treacherous paths. If all three had been taken by the sea, why was there no trace? No bodies, no wreckage, nothing. The mystery deepened with the island's strange reputation. Long before the lighthouse was built, the Flannans were feared by locals. Ancient ruins hint at prehistoric settlements, but fishermen avoided staying overnight, claiming they heard disembodied voices carried on the wind, whispers, warnings, songs with no source. Over the years, Theories have swirled: rogue waves, madness, even supernatural abduction. But more than a century later, the truth remains elusive. Today, the automated light still shines across the North Atlantic, a silent memorial to 3 men who stepped out into the storm and were never seen again. Clipperton Island. In the vast emptiness of the eastern Pacific lies Clipperton Island, a tiny, ring-shaped atoll with one of the darkest survival stories in history. In 1914, at the height of the Mexican Revolution, about a dozen Mexican families were left there to mine guano, bird droppings prized for fertilizer and explosives. When supply ships stopped coming, the island quickly turned from a remote outpost into a death trap. Most of the men succumbed to scurvy and starvation, leaving only women and children behind. That's when lighthouse keeper Victoriano Alvarez seized control. Declaring himself the King of Clipperton, he ruled through violence, terror, and unimaginable cruelty. For years, he abused and murdered at will, turning the island into his personal kingdom of horror. By 1917, the survivors had endured enough. The women finally rose up and killed Alvarez, ending his brutal reign. Not long after, an American gunboat happened upon the atoll by sheer chance. Of nearly 100 settlers who once lived there, only 3 women and 8 children remained alive. Legend has it, the island's lone coconut palm sprouted from the grave of one of Alvarez's victims, a living reminder of the nightmare that unfolded there. Today, Clipperton is technically French territory, but no one dares settle it. The island is overrun with aggressive land crabs, so numerous they've been known to strip animals to the bone if they linger too long. Beautiful, empty, and forever haunted by its bloody past. Jure Sturk's Ghost Island. In January 2009, Slovenian sailor Jure Sturk set out on his dream voyage to sail solo around the world in his small boat, the Lunatic. But somewhere in the South Pacific, his journey crossed into mystery. Sturk vanished without a trace. 18 months later, the Lunatic was discovered drifting near Australia. One sail was still raised, the engine still running, but Sturk was gone. Even stranger were the details left behind. His logbook, carefully maintained for months at sea, stopped abruptly on January 1st. No sign of distress, no goodbye, nothing. His last entry placed him near an unnamed island that appeared on his navigation charts, an island that doesn't exist on any official map. Search teams scoured the coordinates. They found only open ocean, no reefs, no rocks, no land of any kind. Some suggest he had stumbled upon a ghost island, a volcanic formation that briefly rose from the sea before slipping back beneath the waves. Others can't ignore the darker coincidence. Over the past century, at least 3 other solo sailors have vanished in the same waters. Rogue waves, a hidden current, or something far stranger? To this day, Jure Sturk's fate, and the phantom island he recorded, remain one of the sea's most chilling unsolved mysteries. Ilha da Queimada Grande, Snake Island. Just 20 miles off the coast of Brazil lies an island so deadly that the government has made it completely off-limits. Locals simply call it Snake Island, and for good reason. It's home to the densest population of venomous snakes anywhere in the world, with estimates ranging from 1 to 5 snakes per square meter. Step foot there, and you're never more than an arm's length from something that can kill you. The island's apex predator is the golden lancehead viper, a species found nowhere else on Earth. Its venom is so potent it doesn't just kill, it literally causes flesh to rot and blood vessels to burst. Even with treatment, the death rate hovers around 7%. Without treatment, survival is almost impossible. Attempts to settle the island have ended in horror. In the 1920s, a family of lighthouse keepers reportedly died after snakes slithered through their windows at night. Their bodies were later discovered, drenched in blood and riddled with bites. Before that, would-be farmers tried cultivating bananas there, but workers allegedly collapsed and died on their boats before even reaching the mainland. Local fishermen avoid the island at all costs. Some claim they've heard human screams echoing across the waves, though Snake Island is officially uninhabited. Rumors swirl of smugglers using it as a secret hideout, or of darker things, perhaps cries that aren't human at all. To this day, Snake Island remains one of the most forbidden places on Earth, a patch of land where nature reigns supreme, and mankind has no place. North Sentinel Island. Hidden within India's Andaman chain lies one of the most forbidden places on Earth, North Sentinel Island. On paper, it looks like a pristine tropical paradise. In reality, it's a fortress, guarded by the world's most isolated tribe, the Sentinelese. Unlike other lost islands, the Sentinelese aren't ghosts of the past. They're very much alive, and they want absolutely nothing to do with the modern world. For centuries, they've met outsiders with a hail of arrows, spears, and rocks. They've shot at passing helicopters, driven off curious fishermen, and made it violently clear that their shores are closed. In 2006, 2 fishermen who strayed too close were killed instantly. In 2018, American missionary John Allen Chow attempted to set foot on the island and never walked back out. What makes the Sentinelese so unnerving is how little we actually know about them. Their language is unrecorded, their customs completely unknown, and even their population size is a mystery, with guesses ranging anywhere from 15 to 500. Some anthropologists believe they may have lived in isolation for tens of thousands of years, untouched by agriculture, metal, or any technology beyond stone tools. In other words, they are a living time capsule, a people sealed off since the dawn of human migration. The Indian government has long since abandoned efforts to reach them, enforcing a 3-mile exclusion zone around the island. Ships that pass too close sometimes report eerie glimpses of figures on the beaches, shadowy silhouettes vanishing into the tree line, but no one dares to linger. For the outside world, North Sentinel remains a blank spot on the map, a place where human history has stood still for over 60,000 years, and unless the tribe changes its mind, it's likely to remain that way, forever untouchable, forever unknowable. That's all for today. If you enjoyed this dive into one of the world's most mysterious islands, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that explore the strange and unexplained corners of our world.